Right, now, don't say any of that stuff that you just don't say any of that swinging stuff we were just talking about. Dad takes really good offence.
Oh, mate, well, you know me, mate. I'm a Puritan. Gal, thanks for coming over here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the fight in a second against Sonny. But you come over this way much?
Not often, but I do have a good mate of mine to grow with. He's a builder over this way. He's partners with Jake Wall, and they got a pretty good business going. So I do come over and see him every now and then, but yeah, not that often.
Okay,
did you
so
nearly sign? Sorry, Cooch.
I was just going to say. So then, why did you whinge so much when I asked you to? When I asked you to come over here, you made such a big fuss about it, like you would just travel to the other side of the earth.
Well, I'll be honest. I work for 2GB, but I do like your radio station. We're not listening to 2GB, I listen to you guys, and I really like. Obviously Colin Jackie O and intern Pete, and I actually got a phone call from intern Pete, so I was pretty chuffed to get a phone call from him, and then he told me why he was ringing me for to get you, and then I just got caught in the moment. You know, you just get caught in the moment, you just get asked about things, and I just got caught up in it. And I felt really bad after it, so I messaged you. So I'm sorry. Whatever happens.
Yeah, let me tell you, he cops 10 times worse than that. Yeah. But you're the star of the pedophiles, as they call it.
Yeah. Wait, it was a real blindside because you messaged me like the day before. I didn't even know the ambush was coming, just with an apology and saying how you love the show. And I was like, what are you apologising for, Gal? And then he just never got back to me. And I was like, something. It got me on the path. I was like, something's fucking going on. Someone's coming for me. And then it still hit me. It still ambushed me. I didn't even realize.
Well, I knew it was something's going on because I woke up in the morning and there were about 15 missed calls from intern Pete. And I said, fucking, what's going on here? And Matty, how are you? Mate, what are you doing? Oh, Pete, I'm just on the road at the moment. Mate, could you pull over on the side of the road?
He's an anxious man.
Hey, Gal, did you nearly sign for Manly at one point?
Yeah, I was very close. 2007, so end of 2007. Got off the deal from Manly, which was pretty much significantly more than I had at Cronulla, and I was all but done. I was pretty much. I hadn't signed the contract, obviously, but I was all but done. Me and my wife, now it was my partner at the time. We come over here for the weekend to spend some time over here for the weekend, just check it all out, and we went back home, and she goes, "You know what? I really don't like Pittwater Road."
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So
I
listened to her.
Was that it? Was that enough?
Well, that was enough for her.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so we didn't sign. And then Manly win the comp in 2008.
Mate.
So I'm kicking myself.
So that Bozo was a...
Bozo was trying to get me,
Yeah.
And the funny thing was, Bozo had a fair bit of pull over New South Wales and Origin teams. And when I met with Ricky Stewart, who was the Cronulla coach at the time, he said, mate, if you leave the club, I'll be filthy. And he goes, what do you want to do about rep footy? And I said, what do you mean? I want to play rep footy. He goes, well, if you leave, you won't be playing any rep footy. And I sort of believed him at the time. And I thought, well, now I realise Bozo was the one trying to get me, probably looked after me anyway. Yeah. But then I had a get-out clause in my contract. If the coach left the club, I could leave the club. So Ricky Stewart gets sacked in 2010. Manly popped back up again. Oh. Now, the money was no different at this stage. I'd been, money-wise was okay at Cronulla at the time. Like, back in 2007, it was a lot like big, not double, but significantly different. 2010, it was pretty much the same. But my missus said, again, no, I don't want to go.
Pittwater Road.
Who won the comp in 2011?
Mate.
So, mate, and then all of a sudden, 2000, everything that happens at Cronulla, we know about, like, and I'm just sitting there, I was that angry at my missus. Surely you could have put Pittwater Road, we won 2 comps, wouldn't be going for all this crap. And it was just like,
But you know, Gal, given the fact that when you won the comp in 2016, to even think for a second that you might have missed that
100%.
Would have absolutely killed you.
I'm so happy I stayed, and I think I was just true to myself too. Like I like to think I'm a loyal guy, and I stayed true to the club. And I remember when I signed that contract, that contract 2010, I promised myself. I said, I promised myself I'm going to be at this club when we win a comp. I promised myself, and obviously a lot of things happened in between that. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to be at this club. Even if I'm a strapper, I'm going to be at this club. Sure enough, we turned it around and we got the job done in 2016, which absolutely made it all worth it. So glad I stayed.
Well, you're one of the rare blokes to reject Bozo and him not hold a grudge against you. Halfway through the 93 season, I got a call from Bozo and Frank Stanton that said, mate, Cliffy's getting on. Cliffy would play for another 4 or 5 years. Mate, we'd like to have a yarn here. But okay, so I travelled down there, meet with Frank Stanton and Bozo. At the end of the year, I still hadn't made up my mind. Well, I had, but I didn't know how to tell Bozo. Because he'd go, hey, ring you, what's doing? And I go, oh, hello, Bob, how are you? Yeah, mate, what? Anyway, we get to at the end of the season. What's doing? And I went, before I answer, he go, the Kangaroo Tour takes off in a couple of weeks. He goes, well, I'm telling you, there's a player in your position who, mate, he might get ruled out. At the moment, worried about his groin might get ruled out. And anyway, I said, look, I'm going to stay at Newcastle. Oh, yeah, no problem. Bang. Didn't get picked, of course. Yeah. And Benny Elias told the same story. Going into 94, he got offered, Bozo, mate, come to Manly, a couple of years. Yep. And he was going to be on the Kangaroo Tour. He was going to be named. I think he might have been New South Wales captain that year. And he goes, and anyway, he ended up knocking Bozo back. Ben Elias, shock omission from the Kangaroo Tour.
No Benny's told me that story. I get on pretty good with Benny. He's a fantastic fella, and he's told me that story.
Hey, you know what's weird? Dad told me last night. Your last year in the NRL, was it your first year at Shark? You guys played together at Sharks.
I've known you and your brother since you were this big, and I was 20 years old. Matty Johnson with the club, and like to play with Matty Johns. Obviously, I knew exactly who he was. Coming back from England, watching him win premierships was a pretty cool thing for myself. And I do remember Matty. We remember how hard we used to train.
Oh,
Chris Anderson, mate, used to train us.
Really?
So we used to train so hard. Like we went through a period where we lost like 6 in a row. We ended up winning like 11 or 12 games straight to finish inside the top 4. They just missed out in the grand final, but. Mate, we trained so hard, and we'd do sand hills and all sorts of things. So all I remember about Matty Johns was running sand hills. One day he got down to his undies. I think he might have shit himself. He shit himself.
Yeah, I did.
He shit himself one day. And I'll never forget a bloke you might know, you probably remember, Pat Gibson. I still talk to Paddy Gibson all the time. We're still good mates. And Paddy Gibson was this young, my age, fit as you can imagine, bloke, just powering up these sandals. Come on, Matty, you can do it. Shut the fuck up on this, mate. Absolutely ripping shredders. Gibbo just didn't know where to look like. Matty Johns just hammered him. Yeah. I was actually thinking about you two boys on the way over here. You guys used to come to train and run around this big. But I remember one time we're at the doctor's. Maloof, Dr. Maloof. Dr. Maloof's office had this just little thing, and I just remember he used to in this. We're waiting in. There's about three or four of us waiting in the wait room, and you would just running around like little rats, just going berserk, mate. It was so funny. He had pure black hair, you had pure blonde hair. Yeah, so different.
But mate, that year, I tell people all the time, and people always take it with a grain of salt because most teams train hard. But that year, I'll never forget it, mate. I'm talking like 2 or 3 incredibly hard fitness sessions a week. Yeah. Even when you're playing, like
during the season. We
could be playing on the Sunday and we'd be get hammered on the Thursday. And Chris Anderson was like, mate, when I arrived at this club for the previous few years, they hadn't trained hard enough. Mate, I'm going to harden these blokes up. And I was thinking to myself, going, mate, you're killing us. We lost 7 in a row at one point. And I remember getting up at the Leeds Club and they just booed him. And he goes, "Don't worry." He goes, "We're that close to turning things around." He said, "And you'll be cheering at the end of the year." And I'm thinking, "There's no fucking chance." We went on this amazing run. Made the grand final qualifier.
Played the Warriors to make the grand final, and unfortunately they beat us. But that was pretty good to play with your dad. Was a good thing, nice thing.
The way that those like 98, because he coached Melbourne in 98, 99, right when they first come into the comp. The way that they talked about him, it was like they worked hard, but they were just like on the piss and that all the time.
Oh, he liked that too.
Yeah. Okay, was he very work hard, play hard kind of guy?
Yes, yeah. Like there'll be times he'd take us after train to the pub, and I remember I was pretty serious as a young kid. I wouldn't really drink, but I do remember one time the next year, he got sacked the next year, but we're going through an ordinary stage. We lost the game at home. He goes, everyone get over the clubs. We'll get over the clubs. He locked us in a room. He wheeled in 2 shopping trolleys full of alcohol. He said, "We are not leaving here till we finish that." Mate, Chris Beattie and young Birdie, Greg Bird punched on. Mate, by the end of it, Nick Graham left, Dean Treacy left the club. There was 3 or 4, Paul Mellor left, like 3 or 4 blokes left the club, went overseas to England, and Opes got sacked by the end of the year. But the physio that night ended up in hospital with alcohol poisoning. We just the Hoodoo Gurus bloke was there.
Yeah, Dave Faulkner.
Singing songs, and mate, it was just something I'll never forget. But it was a big night.
But it used to get to the point, like toward the end of the year, that our strength and conditioner started pushing blokes a little too hard. Like By the end of the year, everyone's carrying injuries. And I remember once we're doing a rehab session in the pool. This is the day after the game. He said, right, everybody out. We're going to go. We're all going to jump on the rowers and do like fitness tests on the rowers. And mate, like sometimes we'd do 5K runs. Remember after
the day after a game.
Day after a game.
We'd do the Cronulla Esplanade. We'd do a 5K run.
I just ended up saying to Opes, I'm past 30. My fucking knees are screaming. I just can't run on the road. Like the day after a game, I can't do it. And he said, oh, right, don't worry about it. I'll tell him you got the flu or something. But this certain day, he said, right, everyone out of the pool. And Paulie Mellor just refused to get out. Paulie Mellor goes, I'm not getting out of the pool. He goes, get out of the fucking pool. And Paulie Mellor goes, nah. And my Paulie Mellor is a massive man, but so passive and so nice. Anyway, Paulie Mellor had enough. Paulie Mellor just jumped out and grabbed him by the throat and started choking him.
I remember it. I was like, he's going to kill him. He's going to kill him.
He drag him off.
So Paul, we used to do these like national park runs, all sorts of things. I remember one day Paul Mellor hid in the bush. We all got back. He put water on himself and just walked in like he just finished. But Paul Mellor hated this bloke, the trainer. Aaron Salisbury, his name was.
That's right.
Salisbury, if you're listening. But oh man, he was a hard man. I'll tell you, for me personally, it actually helped me and held me in good stead for the rest of my career. But I can understand a bloke who was at the back end of it was just like over it.
But Gal, there was so many like that year. So talking about Manly, we played Manly that year, and I think it was something like Cronulla had never beaten Manly in Manly. So we're getting the bus over, and beautiful day, and the mood on the bus was so pessimistic. I'm going, this is weird. And they're going, yeah, mate, Cronulla just don't win there. And I said, fuck, okay. So we play the first half. Half-time, they're beating us 20-0. I remember going in the sheds going, fucking hell, this is true. And Opes is just sitting in the sheds, and he's sort of going, counting on, like, mate, I'm not going to waste my breath on these boys. They're obviously not going to. So we come out after half-time. We score after half-time. The final score was we beat them 54-26.
Yeah. What? Yes, man. Really? And that was the start of my career. I remember in the next year we played them. Or it might have been the same. It would have been the next year. I got moved to 5'8" because there was injuries everywhere. I was playing 5'8". I'll never forget. Remember Danny Nutley? They used to kick off my way, and Danny, you fat. You know what? You better pass me the ball. I used to catch it, look at him just run. but I scored a double there the next year against Manly. Once again, we beat him again. So I was like, what's this crap? We can't win over here. This is easy. But then things turned a bit off that we couldn't win there for
You know what? It's funny, like I remember it would have been early in your career. You might have been playing back row at this stage. I used to run, like when I was young, a bit bow-legged. Like, you know how they teach you, like, run all the way through your toes and, like, they used to flick out at the back. Yeah. And Billy Slater used to do it at a young age when he first came into first grade. I remember, like, Billy was showing me some of his stuff and show, like, why it's bad to run like that. And he showed me his first ever try in the NRL. Yeah. He was playing centre, got out of dummy half, went down the blind side, made a line break, and he's running. And he's like showing me his running technique. He goes, see how I'm not effective and like, it slows me down after I get past the 20, 30 metre mark. And he goes, I nearly got chased down by a forward. And I'm looking, and I go, is that Gal? It was you that you like nearly stopped him in the corner.
Yeah, I was pretty like made another 10 centimetres. I stopped him there. So that's the start of his career, didn't it? Obviously he turned out to be an absolute superstar. But I wish
you guys were leading 16-0 at half time in that game.
We got beaten. So that was round one. Melbourne had never lost a round one game under Bellamy's. They were winning 16-0. They scored a try right at the end of the game. Towards the back end of the game, Noddy just tried to put a grubber kick through, ricocheted off someone's knees. Guy picked up, got past the ball around the length and scored.
Yeah, that was Bellag's first game, right?
Yeah, would have been. Yeah, it might have been at the start anyway. But Slater, 10 more centimetres will stop him.
Mate, 10
Gail,
centimetres.
I'll tell you what. With you being at Channel 9, you see more of Uncle Joey than we do. How's he going, Uncle Joey?
He's good. Yeah, good. I get on good with Joey. He's good. He's a good fellow. I don't know the ins and outs. So I don't know the ins and outs of obviously the family history.
Oh, no, we're good now.
Families are a complicated thing.
Talking about Channel 9, I tell you what, Chammas versus Gus, that was riveting TV.
Yeah, it was good. But segment one, I sort of actually asked Gus a question. I could see Chammas in the background, like looking at me, and I'm like, anyway, the ad break come, and I'll be honest, I respect when Gus, when I know he doesn't want to talk about it, and Gus sort of looked at me, and I knew he didn't want to go, so I didn't keep probing at all. And Chammas come over and goes, mate, that's what I want to do for my segment, the scuttlebutt segment. I said, oh, sorry, mate, I didn't know, I was asking you questions. And I actually had to go home that night because I had to train for the fight. I said, look, I can do the first 3 segs, but that's it. And they said, okay. So I went home, then I landed back in Sydney and just turned my phone just blowing up, and Chammas and Gus into it.
Because you and Gus, like you're one of the few that you will go at Gus. You and Gus go at each other quite a bit. It's all in jest, but
we have a go.
Really?
I wouldn't say we're mate. I don't know how to. I don't know. Gus is a guy you just
a complex guy.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't really have too much relationship with him. I really respect him. I got to be honest. He is probably one of the probably smartest bloke I've ever seen in rugby league. The way he talks about the game, the way he knows the game, he's very, very unique like that. He knows the game inside out. But I don't always agree with what he says or think what he says is right. And I'm happy to challenge him on that. But he's pretty good at arguing. He's got a lot of experience, and he's probably too good for me.
I'll tell you what, Chammas did very, very well to hold his nerve, because Gus can be very intimidating. He's an incredible orator, and he can sit and he can hold his nerve in an argument. But it's the first time I've seen sort of Gus. I wouldn't say he was rattled, but mate, it was two blokes really going backwards and forwards, and Chammas not backing off. I think it was
the bite at the end where he said, "Watch what you're saying, boy." I think that's not Gus doesn't normally do. No. He normally says like really, really composed and really contrite in what he says, and that was probably what he did.
And also got him. Also, Gal, when he went to, you don't realise what you do to players and all that. So there was a little bit of that. I thought that, but Gus, he said he's an incredibly complex guy. I tell you what, mate, coming through the Grenell young guys, he was so good to Andrew and I. I'll never forget that. But I think the important thing is when you meet Gus, is when you meet him, is you don't have any expectations. So when I used to work with Gus, or even when I see Gus now, I go, "Hey Gus, how you going?" And now Gus might want to talk. He might want to. I've got no expectations on it, so I arrive with no expectations. And but you're right. He's brilliant as far as football and what he's done.
Oh, mate, it was great. It was great TV. Like from a fan perspective, it was just, I can imagine all the punters were just absolutely loving it. Like you saw everything.
I want to see what happened backstage. I wasn't there, so I don't know if anything happened. I'm not too sure.
Like on a lot of those shows, right? 100% footy, 360. When it gets quite like intimidating and they go at each other, you've been in like there in the flesh. Does it get quite awkward in ad breaks and stuff?
Depending. Sometimes there's an awkward silence and no one really says too much, but I haven't been in that big row. On radio, I have. Like with Levy at times, Levy just cuts me off sometimes. He's got to control the penalty. He's going to cut me off. But so probably with like Levy's a bloke who's not afraid to say what he thinks. If he's off you, he'll tell you, which I respect about. And that's good. I get on good with it, really good with him. But Gus is sort of a bit. I've never had an argument or anything with him on air, and then he's got off air and carried on. This one just remains quiet. So so on radio I've had a couple, but not on TV.
Sonny Bill. Sonny Bill been a long time in the making, this one, Gal.
Yeah.
Why so long, mate?
Look, I'll answer honestly. Sonny will have a different opinion, but I just don't think he ever wanted to do it. And I just think that I had my first fight. Look, I can't remember. It might have been 2012, 13-ish. He fought sometime around then as well. And straight away, as soon as I had my first fight and won, it was like, let's fight Sonny Bill. And it got spoken about. I admitted at the start, I said, no, look, I'm not ready for that. I've had one amateur fight. Let me see if I even want to keep doing this. Kept doing it probably once a year for the next 5 years, and every time I fought, it would get asked about it. And I said, okay, let's do it. And that was it. Until probably 2019, 20, when I started saying, look, this has got to happen. Let's ramp this up a bit. So I'd often say on TV, let's do it. I'd ask Sonny Bill, let's do it. And he said, mate, the first time, when I stepped back in the squared circle, he caught it, you'll be the first person I ring. Well, he fought 2020, 2021, 2022. He had 3 fights. I never got a single phone call. I started ringing Coda, his manager, 2020, 21, saying, mate, we've got to make this happen. Like, I'm going to retire soon, very, very soon. I've got this last contract with No Limit, it was with Fox. And part of my new 9 deal was I couldn't fight with Fox anymore. They were going to allow me to finish my contract, which is fine. But they said after that, no more. And I said, that's okay, I'm going to retire anyway. So I met with Coda a couple of occasions. Last time I met with him was at Brighton Sands on the beach there. And beautiful. Yeah, and basically said, mate, we're not going to give you 50-50. I said, mate, it's got to be 50-50. Mm-hmm. And then he said, how much do you want of New Zealand? So what happens with boxing? Everything goes into a pool. You get a percentage split and it goes out. He said, how much do you want in New Zealand? I said, well, mate, whatever the split is, it is 50-50. He goes, you're not getting 1 cent in New Zealand. I said, mate, you don't want to do this fight. You're full of shit. You don't want to do it. I'm out. So I went home. Nothing else happened. A couple more times might have been spoken about, but then I'd done a story in 2021 whenever I knew I was retiring. I said, Sonny's going to wait till I retire. He's going to wait till I finish up and well past my best before he says he wants to fight me. And sure enough, around the 20th of May, I've got the emails. I've got an offer from Stan to fight Sonny Bill, 20th of May, 2023. And still, I said 7 months after I retired. which is exactly what I said would happen. And still I said, look, I'll fight him if I get a guaranteed figure. I want a guaranteed figure. Sonny can have every dollar up until that guaranteed figure, and then we go 50-50 from there. So it's going to be a 50-50 fight, but I want mine guaranteed. They said, no, that's not fair on Sonny. I said, fuck Sonny. I said, mate, he's waited all this time. I told you exactly what would happen. I told you back in 2021 he'd wait for me to retire. That's what's happened. Now I'm getting it offered a contract. If you guarantee me the figure, I'll do it. If you're not, I'm retired. They said, we can't guarantee the figure. It's 50-50 all the way. That's the way we're doing it. I said, well, I'm retired. I've been retired for 7 months. I'll stay retired. And 2023 was my gap year, so to speak. You know, when you retire from footy, you let your hair down. And I probably did a little bit too much that year. And 2024 rolled around and sort of got me life on, no, not that I was off track, but, you know, just straighten up a bit and watched Mike Tyson fight Jake Paul.
Yep.
And Jake Paul doesn't get near Mike Tyson when they're doing it properly. We all know that. And Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson. And I was at Wade Graham's house and I thought, you know what? Tomorrow, who's going to remember this? Like, they'll remember it, but it's professional sports, a win or lose. I thought, you know what? If I can be 43 years old and make $1, I'm going to do it. So I rang Stan. I said, is this fight still a possibility? And they said, we'll ring Sonny, we'll let you know. So they rang Sonny. He said yes. And here we are. Now, this was in November last year. I got Texas starting about negotiation. I actually wanted to have the fight over in Vegas for the NRL.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
I said, look, there's going to be 30,000 Aussies over there, nothing to do. Watch me and Sonny fight, stream it back into Australia. We'll fight whatever time necessary over there. But Sonny wouldn't have been ready then. He said, no, I'm not going to be ready, so he wouldn't do it. Yep. And obviously here we are in July.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's a good negotiator, Coda. Like, there's no, he's a good negotiator for his fighter. Yeah, he's incredible what he did for Chock. So that must have been a tough negotiation.
Well, mate, 7 months of negotiation, and that's what frustrates me. Like Sonny says things like at the press conference the other day. What happened? 2022, we're right down to the wire. We're just about to sign a contract. 10 rounds, 12 rounds. Well, what was it, 10 or 12? We're just about to sign the contract. What was it, 10 or 12? Where was it going to be? Who was it with? Like, the thing that I get a bit frustrated with, like, you know when two blokes are telling a different story, the stories are similar, and then you know the true summary in the middle, you got to work it out. Mate, we are so far apart in what we say. So far apart. We're not even on the same page. Like, he says we were just about to sign a contract in 2022. I've said to him, publicly, I said, show me one bit of correspondence from me to you or to your manager or to Stan or whoever from 2022. Just one email. I've got 7 months of emails for this fight, 7 months worth of emails and texts. I said, just produce one email or one text about me fighting you in 2022. Yeah. Silence.
Because you've always had good like particularly around State of Origin, you're always good at hyping up an event. Sonny's been particularly vocal like leading up to this fight.
It's been unusual.
Is there bad blood between you two? Like,
we don't like to. Look, I can't say I hate him because there's lots of things Sonny's done in his past that would be easy for me to bring up, but I think would embarrass his family. And that's, I'm not about, as a bloke, I'm not about that. Look, I'm happy to sell a fight, do what I need to do, talk about the fight, talk about certain things, but I'm not going to intentionally bring things up that will embarrass other people, particularly innocent people that don't deserve it. So that's very, with this bloke, after what he said, there's certain things I'd love to say, I'd love to bring up, but again, I wouldn't be being true to myself and just wouldn't be the person I want to be. I'm not angel. I'm not trying to say I'm an angel here, but there's certain things I'm just not going to bring up at him because it would affect his family, and I don't think that's fair.
What's his strengths as a fighter, Gal?
His range. He's a big bloke. He's 6. I think he says on his profile 191 centimeters. I reckon he's a lot bigger than that. He's more like 194, 195.
He puts it down on his
6'4". Yeah, he's got big range. I think he's going to be powerful. At the end of the day, though, everyone who's weighing over 100 kilos, you punch someone in the right spot on the chin, it's going to hurt him. Yeah. So he's got that ability. I've got no doubt if he had done it before I win, and I think he knows that. That's like actions speak louder than words. I've repeatedly said, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. I've heard nothing from him. As I said, fought 3 times before this discussion even happened. So actions speak louder than words. I've got no doubt he knows he would have been beaten. But this time, I think probably the fact he has waited, he's 4 years younger than me, it probably is a 50-50 fight now. It's going to be very, very interesting. But I just think I've got too much for him. I really do.
Yeah. How hard have you been? Because you're a fit dude and you work very hard. How hard have you been training?
Look, no harder than what I normally would, to be honest. So obviously, the sparring's the part I've got to pick up now. 6 weeks out, got to pick up the sparring. And that's, I love training. I train every day. I think that's good for my mental health and it's just something I like to do. So But sparring's different. Sparring's not healthy.
Yeah.
You get punched in the head. You got bigger gloves on. And look, I've spoken to doctors about so much talk about concussion these days. I've spoken to doctors about it, and they tell me that getting knocked out, well, it's not good for you, don't get me wrong, but like getting knocked out is not good. It's the constant, it's the repeated rattling of the brain, repeated rattling week after week, month after month, year after year. That's what builds issues with your brain. So look, they've sort of said to me, doing this one more time is, we can't say it's going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for you, but hopefully you don't cop too much.
My question I was going to ask you is, okay, how are you going to fight Sonny? But I was blatantly clear because his style is range. You getting in nice and close to him. I remember asking Hopper once, just as you were just starting or about to start your boxing career, and I said to Hopper, he said, I was doing a bit of sparring with Gal. I said, how'd he go? He said, fucking couldn't keep him. He said he was just kept coming at me and coming at me and coming at me. He said he was fucking relentless and he hit me on the elbow and dislocated my elbow. I mean, that's clearly obvious how you're going to fight. The two different styles is getting in tight with him.
Well, that's why he wants 2 minute rounds. This is one of the most embarrassing things. We're talking about Sonny Bill Williams, crosscode superstar, claims he's won top boxing titles, and he wants to fight 2 minute rounds. It's for me, it just goes to show how much his fight means to him. Like, for me, it's professional sport. There's a winner and a loser. I win this fight. How's my life change? It doesn't. It's not going to change. We get paid the same amount of money. Life goes on. My family's still there tomorrow. If I lose the fight, same thing. So, but I just feel like this fight to him just means so much. Like, it's like his legacy is going to change if he loses. And that's why he's never wanted to do it. I've got no doubt that's why he never ever wanted to do it. So to put his stamp on and say, no, I'm only fighting 2 minute rounds. And basically that's what the 7 months of negotiation was about, the rounds. Got to the point where Ben Kimber from Stan said to me, mate, this is it. Take it or leave. He's not going to do nothing else. Which for a bloke of his stature is so embarrassing to fight 2 minute rounds. It's like having a 120 kilo monsters in your rugby league team, powerful, fit, fast. At the 50 minute mark, they'll be up 16, 20-0, 55 minute mark. But by the 80th minute, you're going to come home and get him every time. Yeah, right. It's embarrassing for him. And when you think about our styles, he wants 2 minutes because you try and walk backwards while someone's trying to punch at you. You can do it for a round or two. This is 3 minute rounds. You can do it for a round or two. 4, 5, 6 rounds, you're going to get caught. So they're going to catch up out and they're going to knock you out. And he knows that. That's why he does not want to do 3 minute rounds. He knows he can't beat me over 3 minute rounds.
Gal, how monumentally different? Because a lot of people will listen to who aren't fight people and will go, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. How monumentally different is 2 to 3?
That's in rugby league terms. There's a difference between playing 80 minutes and 55 minutes. It's chill. Going for a 3K run, but you only run 2 and you've only run 2Ks, not 3. Like it's hugely different. It's so different. And he knows that. And then you get a minute break in between. So he's got to work for 2 minutes and get a minute break. And as I said, look, there's eight rounds is positive for me. If he can't knock me, look, I'd say this: if he knocks me out in the first round, I'll shake his hand and I'll say, "You're better than me. You deserve it. Well done." If he can't do that, I've got no interest in shaking his hand or being polite with him, even after it. I don't like the bloke. And
things ever nearly got, I don't know if physical's the right word, but have you blokes been in the same building or at the same place at 9 and clashed?
Only once. It was sort of late 2022. Yeah, that was the only time we spoke about, come on, mate, like let's get it done type thing. And he's like, sign the contract. I'm like, mate, there is no contract. What are you talking about? And that was only once ever. Before that, we haven't worked together often. But at the end of the day, you tell you be professional and you go home, you do your job and you go home. So that was the only time we had an argument about it back in 2022. But we haven't, other than that, everything's been fine.
Let's talk about now boxing.
Can we just quickly? I just want to shout it out because if our listeners want to get tickets on Ticket Tech, July 16th, Sonny Bill Williams versus Paul Gallen, KIIS Prank Arena. Or I'm sure you can watch it online on Stan as well. But just before we move off that, do you have a walkout song? Is there one you always walk out to?
I do, and the only reason I've got it is because my first ever fight, I didn't have a clue what to do, so Chad Townsend picked it for me.
That's a worry.
Yeah, they played it all the Origin. Is it Cage Man?
Kashmir. No, Led Zeppelin?
No, it goes dun-dun-dun.
That's it.
Yeah, that's right.
Kashmir, Led Zeppelin.
Because there's a variation of Kashmir, but it's at the moment I don't think it'd be politically correct to play it.
Oh, really? Well, Chatty, how good?
There was a remix where they used the riff for Kashmir and the theme song of Godzilla, but it was produced and sung by someone.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well, that's what I know as a Godzilla soundtrack.
You might actually use the original.
Actually, I know what you're talking about now. Far out. I might have to change it.
Yeah, mate. You want us to pick one for you?
I'm a stick.
Consistent.
Yeah, I'm very consistent. I keep things the same when things are going okay. And
Gal, do you love rugby league and boxing? Which one do you love more?
Rugby league.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah, rugby league. Man, I'm a rugby league player. I'm a rugby league player who's I think reasonably tough. I did fight as a kid. I boxed as a kid. I never fought, never ever had a fight. Never thought I'd have a fight. But I do have a little bit of a background in it as a kid, as a youngster, going to the local PCYC and gyms at Maryland's. And
we're actually back to Cronulla. Remember, we used to box
in Cronulla.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What, in like rehab and as training sessions?
One day, Chris Beattie ripped Nick Youngquist's undies out on his birthday or something. And I said, mate, leave him. I don't do that. And Beat sort of half had a go at me. Chris Anderson goes, let's go to the gym. Yeah. Chris Beattie. And I'm like,
what have you done?
I was so scared. I've never been more scared in my life. I'm walking over Jason Stevens. I'm like, mate, what do I do here? He goes, I'll pray for you. So I said, please. Anyway, punched the piss out of him. He had a bleeding nose.
What did all the boys like get around and watch
Everyone was watching. I've never been more scared in my life.
Mate, they put the gloves and the headgear on, or sometimes you didn't wear headgear, and they just go, righto, Gal, Chris Beattie, righto, next, Nick Graham, Matty. I remember once I had to fight David Tangatoa. My Tangles had 30 kilos on me.
What? But we used to do it all the time. Jason Stevens knocked Carl Lovell out one day. Like we're doing a 2-on-1. Johnny Lewis used to come and do it with us. And Steve-O, he got punched in the back. We turned around. We weren't allowed. It was a body spar on this one. Punched him showing the chin, knocked him out cold in the ring. That's how hard we used to train. There you can imagine. There you go. That's
when you were fighting like at the end of a season when you were still playing. Was that tough? Like was that hard on the body?
No, it depends if I had any injuries from the footy season. But like the thing that I found I worked out was hard about it. The club wouldn't allow me to fight after Christmas, and then eventually as things went on, they let me have one or two, and my body shape, I can't say totally changed, but you don't need, the more muscle you got, the more oxygen you need to move around. And boxing is like a very cardio-based sport, you know? So you don't really need to be that muscle. You don't need to do that much weights. So I'd be in the preseason, I'd be boxing and I'd be flying at all my running stuff. I'm not a great runner, but I'd be going really good at all my running, all my testing times. I'd be flying. I'd be about 100, 102 kilos max. Footy would start, and it took me a couple of years to work it out. I'd get injured. I'd get hurt. I'd just have so many bumps and bruises. Had no fat on me, had no weight on me. So I worked that out. You know, by the sort of the last 3 or 4 years of my career, once I finished fighting, I had to get back in the weights, had to put weight back on, and I had to change my body shape again. So while the pre-seasons were good when I was boxing, as far as fitness-wise goes, I couldn't play that lighter weight.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was like probably 4 kilos. I'd play 106 kilos.
It makes a big difference,
but it does.
Right?
And a lot of it was mainly like my body fat percentage was getting down below 10%. And then all of a sudden to get back up to 15, 16, which was healthy for me.
Gal, like when people talk about rugby league, right, professional sport, and I'm interested in what to say about boxing because that's next level or 2 up. People say, do you get scared when you played rugby league? And you weren't scared. What you were scared of was letting your mates down, making an error, something like that. But boxing, like, you know, I suppose fear to a certain extent is an essential. Do you feel it when you walk?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm not tough enough or crazy enough, so I'm never scared. I was scared playing rugby league. Scared, fear. There's fear in everything you do, I think, and anyone who doesn't have it, or I think they're lying. I think you do get it, particularly in rugby league. Like I was scared of failing, and I think maybe scared. Probably that was about letting your teammates down, but I was also scared about getting hurt, getting smashed. There's lots of things you're scared about, and boxing's the same. Yeah. Absolutely get scared, without it walking out. Like when you walk out, when you jump in that ring, when everyone clears the ring but you and the other bloke on the ref, it's the biggest adrenaline dump I've ever had. And that's it. I got to be honest, I'm looking forward to that again. It's been a while since I've had it.
I suppose that's why boxers come out of retirement all the time.
That's it happens all the time. And like certain guys have that personality. They chase that and they try to chase it through other ways when you retire. And that's probably something I've got to be careful of. But I'm looking forward to that adrenaline dump again. I can't wait for it, to be honest. But as I said, it's all going to end.
Gal, let's go, like comparing like nerves, apprehension. Like you're coming down the tunnel, grand final night against the Melbourne Storm 2016, and you're walking toward the ring against Justice Hooney? Fear, apprehension, nerves. What was more?
I got to say, they're both similar. Yeah, they are both similar because it's what you're trying to do, Matty. You got to remember, like, people like you think, oh, you get in the ring and fights Justice Hooney, guys like that, and people are amazed by it. But for me, it's just what I've done. It's just what you do. Same as rugby. Like, people can't believe front rows stand back and run straight as hard as they can at 13 blokes. They can't. Yep. That's why it's so popular. Because the 400 people playing in NRL each year are doing whatever the rest of society can't do.
Yeah.
No matter how much people think they can do it and want to do it and they judge them, they can't do it. That's what makes rugby league so popular.
Okay.
And that's a similar thing to boxing. So it's whatever you're prepared to do. So I prepare to fight. I spar a hell of a lot leading into a fight. So I sort of know what to expect and I'm just prepared for it.
Righto. State of origin. You oftentimes played 80 minutes in a state of origin. Where were you more fatigued? Final round of a boxing match or 70th minute when you're playing 80 minutes in an origin?
That's a hard one. Yeah, but look, probably origin because in boxing, you want to be throwing punches all the time, but you got to cover up as well. You can't just be throwing punches willy-nilly. You got to be able to cover up and you got to defend. So probably boxing, but it's a different. Probably origin, but it's a different fatigue. Like, mate, again, the 10th round versus Justice Hooney, I got to be like, one thing that annoys me about what Sonny said the other day is he said, oh, look at this guy, thinks he's so tough, walks around talking about all the fights he's had. Man, I don't talk about any fight I've had, ever. And if you can find any footage of me or any tape of me talking about any fight I've had, I'll take it back. But I don't talk about them. I don't talk about no one I've fought. The only one I've ever spoken about when asked about it is Justice Hooney, because the step in the ring with that bloke was unbelievable. Like, it was something I'll never. He's fighting this weekend over in Wembley against Wardley, I think the bloke's name is. And if he wins his fight, it accelerates into a chance at a world title. Oh. He's now ranked number 1 in the WBO.
Wow.
But there's a guy we flew in for sparring who we got told him and Hooney were neck and neck in sparring. They'd be necking like 50-50. And I was sparring this bloke and I was going pretty good. I thought, I was almost 50-50 with him. Like, he's a good fighter. He'd been Olympics and all that. So I went into Hooney confident.
Yeah.
At the end of the first round, I turned around to my comment, oh, fuck. Like, it was, mate, I've sparred everyone in Australia, from Jai Pataya and Mark Hunt, everyone, all the good fighters. Hopper back then when I was younger. I've sparred everyone. Jason Waitley's a bloke who fought for a world title cruiserweight. I've sparred everyone. And I have never experienced speed and precision. He broke me ribs, broke 2 of my ribs in the first round. Like, precision punching, it was amazing. And now that I've done it and I've experienced it, like, I know it's a weird thing to say, but it was a pleasure being in there with him. Like, just to be able to go in there to experience that, I was like, mate. Yeah. That's why everyone sort of said when, would you fight Mike Tyson for $1 million? I'm like, oh yeah, of course. But that's just because you want to be a tough guy and say yes. But I legitimately think to be able to get in the ring with that bloke, maybe look at it, you didn't want to get killed, but in his prime to say you fought him would have been. It'd be
a good experience if you survived it.
That's what you want to do if you got out of it alive. Yeah. But yeah, as I said, that's the way I think of the Hooney fight. I'm just like, mate, what an honour to go in the ring with that bloke. It was unbelievable.
Would you have him as the best fighter you've ever fought against then?
Oh, yeah, by far. Mate, like I said, I've sparred everyone. I know sparring's not fighting. But the speed and the precision and the skill, and like, he's here 1 second there, the next, like the angles he could do and just what he could do, how fast and precise he was.
Who have you got sparring with you now? Is you still sparring with Curtis?
Curtis Scott? Yeah, I do spar with Curtis. Big Jackson Murray's a bloke who he's a really good. He's one of Usyk's, Alexander Usyk's, the world champion. He's one of his sparring partners for a couple of his fights. So he sparred everyone all around the world. He's actually on his way to, I think, Argentina on Monday for a fight over there. He's really good to me. Jason Waitley's a bloke we've used in the past. He fought for a world title at the cruiserweight division. So yeah, there's a number of guys we get. There's you go to turn up to gyms and you spar whoever you can.
Is that how it works?
Sometimes. I remember one time I went out to Campbelltown. You got to travel a bit for sparring too. I went out to Campbelltown and went to spar one bloke and want to do 6 rounds. We done the first round against him, and I did keep a fair bit of pressure on him, and he didn't come out for the second round. So I said, the trainer sort of said, well, we need to spar, mate. I sparred 5 different blokes in 6 rounds. So he done the first round. I sparred 4 other blokes, and then he done the last round. Just fresh blokes.
Freddie Freshland.
Oh, mate. It was like, actually, one of them was the old footy player. He used to play for Para. I feel so bad for forgetting his name now.
Big Daddy Brown.
No, not Big. No.
Yeah, remember probably had the sausage roll.
He's from Penrith and played for Para. I remember his name by the end of it, but yeah, he was a really nice fella. Sparred him, and got a good workout out of it.
That Justice Herney, when you said he broke your ribs in the first round, and you get in there and you realise, mate, I'm against a true pro here, technician. What went through your mind when you walked back to your corner and sat down on the stool?
Well, I think in the first round, I was like, wow. Like, I remember walking back going, this bloke is fucking unbelievable. Like, I couldn't believe how fast he was. I couldn't believe the angles he could produce and how fast he could produce them. And then I don't really remember too much about the rest of the fight. What I was disappointed, I won one round, and that's my claim to fame. Even if he's a world title, I won one round against a world champion. But what frustrated me was the last round 10, I actually tackled him. He sort of tried to push me out, so we fell on the ground. The floor got really wet and slippery. And we actually both slipped. I fell over the deck. The ref counted as a knockdown. And then after I got up and he stopped the fight about a minute to go. And that's sort of I would have liked to have finished the fight. I'm not saying he might not knock me out in the last minute. I was pretty out of my feet, to be honest. But I thought, the referee was going to stop then. He probably should have stopped at the 5th or 6th round when I couldn't win the fight rather than stop it with 1 minute to go in the last. But, I just remember, I remember getting me trained just trying to hit him to the body more. That was one thing I remember. But, yeah, mate, he was just too good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like a tough. I wouldn't get in the ring. Is there any of the NRL players right now that you look at?
Hang on. Just finish that sentence you started. Like, you had the common sense to just.
I said I wouldn't get ringworm. That's what I said. I definitely. I'd jump in the ring and I'd knock most lightweights out. I'm talking to you, Sam Walker. No, I wouldn't. Sam would probably still knock me out. Who in the NRL? Because there's a few boys that box, like Nelly from Welly. He's boxed that guy in Bali, and he's boxed a few boys.
Yeah.
Who do you look at of the current crop and go like?
Yeah, I haven't seen him fight. Would like to see Big Nelson do it. He's a big enough body. And I've heard he goes okay, so that'd be pretty cool if he could jump in. But I don't know who else. There's always chat about blokes. But, you never know. Like I'll be honest with you, so many blokes can fight, like jump in a street fight and punch someone. But when you're in a ring, it's different. It's different. And when you're in there for 3 minutes at a time or 2 minutes at a time, whatever it might be, it's a whole lot different than what you think. And a lot of guys who think they can get in there can't. Yeah.
Gal, a lot of football players when they go out there, some people will see them and they'll see them as a target out and about. Now you're the double, mate. You're not just a well-known footballer or a football legend. Mate, you're a boxer as well. And I read a thing with Mike Tyson where Tyson said, you would not believe this. See, when I was young at my prime, I'd walk out and someone would still want to have a go. Yeah. Do you get that?
100%. It's torture. It really is. It is. And I'll be honest, last year, I said 2023 was my gap year, and I did let loose a fair bit. I've been off the drink since 2024. I slipped up a bit in Vegas earlier this year, but
don't worry if you do that.
But I'm back off it again, so I don't drink as much as I used to. If at all at the moment. I'm not saying I'm not going to drink again. I will. Yeah. But it is hard.
Tough.
It is very hard. And there's nothing you can't throw punches. If you go and throw a punch and hurt someone, you're in trouble. So.
Well, do you do the old, hey, I can't legally hit you because my hands are classed as weapons?
Nothing like that. That was unfortunately happened a fair bit. There was actually one. It would have been last year at some stage. I was down at a bar. And this is worth it, but it was in Cronulla. And a bloke come up behind me and a mate comes up behind you and grabs you on the neck like that, pretty hard. But you're like, oh, and he grabbed me on that hard, too hard. But I actually thought it was a mate, and I turned around. He's like, oh, hey mate, and just went and shook my hand. So I shook his hand. I said, hey, and I was just nice. Anyway, sure enough, he's fucking some prick is videoing it. His mate got his mates to video it. So they've obviously wanted me to react.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and
fuck, what he's lucky.
If you listen to this, you're a low prick. Or
yeah.
I don't know. But his mates, and then they stuck it on social media. And the only reason I knew about it was because a friend of mine knew them and said, what happened here? And I didn't actually do anything. I actually turned around and shook the bloke's hand, but they obviously wanted me to react.
What a load. Fucking Toby Rudolph, if you're watching this.
Ryan Fletcher, you're a disgrace. Mate, what's the matter with some people?
Mate, honestly, these days, the world we're living in is crazy.
You'd think like you wouldn't, I personally wouldn't go up to a bloke who can fight and has been playing rugby league for a long time, try to pull him on. I remember when we were in Byron Bay 2020 in COVID, we had a big trip after the premiership for Storm. Me and Cheese were at the pie shop in Byron Bay, which if you're in Byron on a late night, usually there's kebabs around here. You go and get a pie at 3 a.m. It's awesome. They got the best pastry.
Good insight.
Jai Upataya was there. And we're talking to Jai. This bloke comes up to him, knew he was a fighter, and this young surfy dude would have been 19, and just sledged him, like relentless, almost wanted him to knock him out. And Brandon was holding the kid back going, what are you might die.
You're going to find one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world.
You literally may die. Like, it's not even, I don't know what you're trying to get out of this. Like, just a drunk idiot, obviously. But I cannot understand some of the judgment on these blokes going, this will be funny.
We're talking about Jai Patai. They're the best cruiserweight in the world. So it can happen to anyone, and unfortunately it does happen.
Yeah.
Gal, last fight?
100%.
Yeah, last fight.
100%, mate. Like I'm 44 in August, which is 3 or 4 weeks after this fight. I've been retired for close to 3 years now. I never thought in boxing. I'm a footy player. I wanted to win a premiership, done that, play for my state, play for my country. Boxing was on something I never got into for money. That's the reason I've accepted the 2-minute rounds. I've called myself a prize fighter from day one, so I'm not going to change that. If I can get the same amount of money for fighting for 16 minutes as I can for 24, I might as well do it. So I'm going to do it. But this will be the last fight, 100%.
You've been torturing yourself, haven't you? I mean, you played two of the toughest, been involved with two of the toughest sports since you've been a very young boy, and a lot of blokes, we always talk about, rugby league, and rightfully so, about the CTE, but boxing is a whole nother level. And I've heard you before talk, I've had conversations before, and I've heard you slur before. Today, you're as good as gold. Like, you're clear as a whistle.
I did know I slurred before, actually. Maybe I was just tired.
You might have been
was I drunk?
I think was this in Vegas?
No, but not heavily. But, I don't know if anyone said that, but I've picked it up before. But today, I don't know whether before you're tired or whatever, but you're sweet. Do you ever think about it, Gal? Do you worry about it?
I do. Yeah, I do. And it's because there's so much chat about it, it's hard not to think about, particularly because I talk in the media. I do notice, like on radio, by the back end of a 7-hour day, I do get tired, and I actually think to myself, am I speaking clearly? So that does happen. But as I said, I've had my brain scanned, my brain tested. I went and spent 2 days with professors up in Newcastle and had everything tested. They said I'm in a good spot. But they said, we can't give you a long-term diagnosis because we just don't know how it's going to be. Like 5 years, they said, for 5 years you'll be okay. And I said, 5 years, that's like tomorrow. It was 3 years ago now, So they said, mate, we just don't know. We don't know. But they said the brain can heal. It can heal. It does get better. I think there's a lot of people that say, they did say to me, if anyone tries to tell you got CTE or you're going to get CTE, don't listen to them. All they're trying to do is create hysteria because they're probably looking for funding as far as doctors go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So these doctors said you cannot, at the moment, I don't know if it's changed the last 3 years, but we cannot tell you have CTE until you die, until we cut your brain open. And he said, look, there's been lots of cases where there's been boxers, fighters, all sorts of different people who've had head trauma, alcoholics, drug addicts, who've cut their brain open, not a problem with them. And then there's women who've never had contact in their life, get dementia and things like that. So it's amazing, look, obviously going and standing on a highway, you're a chance to get hit by a car, and that's what I'm doing. I'm fighting. I'm playing rugby league for a long time, so my chances might be more, but we just don't know.
How old are your kids now, Gal?
16, 14. My oldest girl's 16, my son's 14, and then 2 girls, 10 and 7.
How did they go? Like, because your wife, she's a pretty tough woman. I've met her a couple of times, and she's seen you play football all the time. So for her to step on the ring, what about the kids as they start to get older and they're seeing Dad hop in the ring against like a Justice Hooney and that? Yeah. Did it impact them much? No, my oldest daughter's 16. She's sort of in her own world at the moment, so she doesn't care too much about it. My son, my last couple of fights, I let him come. With all due respect to Hodge on that, I was pretty certain I was going to win if I just sort of turned up and did what I had to do. And the first one was got a bit dusty there for a while, but thanks God that he come to those fights, and I was happy to let him be there. He'll come to this one, but I'm not going to let him be in the corner for this one. This is a bit different. Right. There's going to be a few more people at these ones, but he'll come to the fight. He's okay with it. He wasn't the first fight I fought up in Queensland. He got scared. His dad getting punched. He wasn't happy with it. He doesn't come watch me spar anymore after that night. He won't come watch me spar. So I think he's at the age now where he understands it, and he's a little bit concerned. The two young ones, they're just.
They just live in there, don't know what's going on. Yeah. Are they Sharky?
They see Dad get worse at home.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Are they all Sharky supporters?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they don't really talk about anyone else, but they like going down the Sharkies games, and they're Sharkies, I'd say.
Who's their player?
I think Nico's probably everyone's player at the
Yeah,
moment.
poster
Nico.
boy.
I know.
Nico's-
Damn you, Nico.
Damn you, Nico,
Hey,
you son of a bitch.
Just finally, Gal, what do you think about the Sharkies this year? Because I just, as soon as I fall in love with them and say, yep, they're definitely a top 4 side. Yeah, they're a contender. They put in a bludger of performance.
Yeah, and that's been a little bit frustrating. Look, when you're sort of in, this is the thing about rugby league, and as you know, Matty, like what you do on the field is all that matters. It doesn't matter what your week's been like, how you prepared, what goes good, what goes bad. What you do on the field is all that matters. And a couple of weeks ago, the Sharks had a really poor loss. I knew they had a bad week that week. They had a lot of players didn't train, a couple of injury clouds, and they went out there and performed like that. But the fans don't care about that. They don't care about what's happened during the week. They care about the performance that you put in, and they've let themselves down on a couple of occasions like that. So they've just got to get better at that. And they're probably getting towards a stage now this year, next year maybe, where the learning phase or the getting together phase is gone. It's about what you do as a team, and they I think time spent playing together is pretty important in this competition, and they've got that.
Yeah, they're starting to come. This year's
they've got that.
Yeah.
They've got some guys coming towards the end of their contract, so they want to keep this team together and do something together. They've got to, do it. They've added Adam Fanor-Blake into the side, which is probably the best middle in the competition. One of them. So they've got the makings there. It's just up to them to start believing in themselves and in big. Like, this is the thing about the Sharks, and they seem to be so good for the majority of the game, but sometimes at the back end of the game, when those big moments come up where that's when your big name players stand up and get it done. They've probably fallen over a couple of times there, and I don't want to out him here, but Nico, everyone looks at Nico, and I love Nico. He's a great guy. He's terrific. And what I felt so sorry for was the Tigers game at Leichhardt. Kicked a 40-metre field goal, and it hit the post and bounced directly that way, like 5 centimetres. It's going straight through the post. That's all he needs. That's all the bloke needs. Some to fall his way. And I just feel it, like, mate, Nico, if you listen, keep doing what you're doing, mate. Keep working hard, because it's going to turn. Like, look, not that he's doing anything wrong, but he's going to have one of their moments fall for him. And when he does, mate, it'll all just click for him.
That's the thing,
right?
right?
Be right. But the thing about it is the previous. The rest of the game, he's a gun. Yeah. But when you're in that, I understand the pressure and the expectation when in that position, but he's so close to getting it right.
It's funny, Nico, watching him in the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think he's been really good. It's almost almost back to his Dalian form. But what happens is there's so many people in the game that don't know the game. And so when someone starts saying, oh, geez, he's struggling, everyone just goes, he's struggling, he's struggling. It starts.
I know. You know what? The worst thing for that has been Supercoach. Because people look at Supercoach and goes, but this, mate, look, he only got 60 points, whereas this half got 110 points. Jeez, he was quiet, but you look at what they do for the team, how they create for other players.
Well, the week of the Nico thing, I think a week or two later, Latrell kicked a 50-metre field goal and scored a try. I'll be honest, Latrell done nothing, and I love Latrell. He's an absolute superstar, and he's awesome. But for the previous 79 minutes of the game, he just cruised around, caught the ball, passed to his wingers, you take it back. But you know what? When the big moments come around, who puts his hand up? Latrell, 50-metre field goal, and then scores a try at the back end of the game just to rub salt in the wound. But yeah, like the players like that are special. They're special talents, but. Again, I feel sorry for guys like Nico who are killing it for 79 minutes of the game. And then when the game's on, everyone wants to judge him on that.
Yeah. Did you have any players like that, like who you were someone that grind out 80-minute performance, show up, fill the space, do the shit that people didn't want to do? Who was the player in your career that you looked at and you go, like, you used to try to fucking get the best out because you knew how fucking talented they were?
Ben Pomeroy was probably one of them.
Oh, really?
Ben Pomeroy, because I've never met a bloke stronger or more athletically gifted than he was, but he was just so lazy. He was like, Paul Franze was another one. Paul Franze was the most talented, gifted player I've ever seen, but he was just too lazy. Jimmy Maloney was probably a little bit like that. I remember one day in the Jimmy wouldn't do weights. He'd muck around the gym all the time. The trainer said to him one day, mate, Jimmy, pull your head in, start training or go home. He goes, okay.
Went home.
And turned up the next day like nothing happened. And then I'm just like, are you fucking serious? Like, he goes, what? He told me to go home. I said, he give you the option. Hopefully you pull your head in. He goes, oh, you said to go home. I went home. Like, he was just, but then I admit, once semi-finals rolled around, I've never seen a change in attitude like it made.
Yeah, okay.
He led video, like in video sessions, he'd bring a pack of chips in and purposely just like on just to take the piss and just.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, Flano would have hated. Flano would have hated it.
I'd heard he did it once with Bellyache. They were in, it was a meeting, a video session when he was Melbourne his first year, and they're all doing something, and all of a sudden,
You know what?
and he's just gone, for fuck's sake.
You know when that was? That was pre-game. So he hadn't even debuted yet. And for those people who've seen Craig Bellamy before a game, you don't even speak to him like before the boys go warm up because he's just an anxious mess. And he used to try to get anybody who wasn't in the 18, get out of the change room, just get out of Bellyache's way, only the boys that are sort of playing. Jimmy Maloney went in there, got a Coke Zero from the fridge and a pack of Smith's Crisps and was sitting on the massage table while everyone was stretching, just eating him. Apparently, it was like just so fucking loud. Bellyache went up to him and he says, "Get the fuck out of this change room."
But as soon as semi-finals rolled around, mate, led video sessions, led training sessions, an amazing guy. We wouldn't have won the comp without him. I remember that year we played the Dogs one. The Dogs were beating us 18-0. We come back and we scored. They scored 3 tries, kicked all the goals. We'd scored 4 tries by the back end of the game, and we're on 18 points equal with them. So Jimmy must have kicked 1 goal. Couldn't kick nothing else. These kicks from the sideline to win the game. Bell rung and everything. I said, Jimmy, you want to give it to someone else because you've kicked 1 from 3. He goes, you fucking serious? Like, looked at me like I'm a dickhead. I said, no. He goes, fucking please, I'll kick this easy. Kicks it from the sideline.
Oh, right.
Nails it from the side to win the game. Like, that's just he was a freak.
Remember Nathan Cleary was saying that, like when Jimmy Maloney went to Penrith with him, it was just like I just learnt like everything that I sort of learnt coming in. It was like such a nice lesson from Jimmy just to see how you make an error and in 5 seconds it's just like water just rolls straight off you and you just
rare blokes.
Oh mate,
it wasn't 5 seconds. It was 0.5 of a second. He didn't give a shit.
Billy Slater, Cliffy Lyons, those blokes are blessed. Yeah. We just go
play on.
Joey like that.
Actually, I got a question for Gal before you finish up. Actually, I found it really interesting when you spoke about back end of your career when you were boxing and then going back to pre-season, you'd shred weight and you'd come back and you'd get injuries at the early part of the year. Obviously, I'd love to see what your stance is. On the last 5 years, the game's quickened up so much. It's actually forced middle forwards. Me and Coop debuted through COVID. It's actually forced middle forwards and pretty much all forwards in general to be smaller. And obviously, we're seeing an increase in particularly soft tissue injuries in forwards. Like I know Jacob Sofidi, for example, has had 2 calf injuries to start the year in 2025. What do you think on? Do you think there's a correlation there?
Well, there probably has to be somewhere. I mean, I think how many forwards used to see tear hamstrings back in the day. Now, I know everyone's getting bigger and fitter and faster, but I do think when the 6 to go come in, that changed the game. And I remember when it was 6 to go all over the park, big like guys like Big Nelson were almost lost to the game. Like Nelson was non-existent that year. He couldn't. The game was too fast for him. It was too big. Now it's come back a bit where I think they come back in the game a little bit. But yeah, I do agree that the bigger players, the Nelsons, like they still got a part in the game, but they're probably not playing for as long as they once did or once could. Look, injury-wise, I'm not a doctor or a physio to know enough about the injuries, but I think if we're seeing more while the game's gotten faster, there probably has to be some sort of correlation there. How we get around it, I'm not too sure.
And the thing about it is, Jack Coops, is that every time you change a rule or a certain rule, there'll always be injuries as they're different injuries. And I like the limited interchange and I like the speed of the game because what it does take juice out of the really big blokes.
Yeah.
Like for me, a fatigue injury is less than an explosive injury. Like if you got blokes on the field, big blokes that are fresh, unlimited interchange back in the day, mate, they'd just be charging at you like all game. And to have fresh blokes on the field just, who are 120, 125 kilos, mate, the damage that they would do. Like it was just over the top.
You see, it allows blokes like Kurt Mann, when he plays lock, even when Connor Watson plays stints at lock, it brings those blokes into the game. It'll be good for Cheezel, Brandon Smith at South if they put him at lock.
Yeah,
like it brings those kind of players into it.
And the other thing it does, it actually it rewards blokes like Galmore because blokes who train their asses off to play 80 minutes and can do those long minutes, mate. What used to happen? We used to get repeat sets, and the opposition 2 middles would put their hand up, go over their ball, and Blake come on. And when they got possession back, hands up again. Like you were playing against some teams that did over 40 interchanges in a game.
Wow.
Shit.
So
unless you're paying Haas, he's just got size, power, and stays out there.
Unbelievable.
He's a freak, eh?
Good,
Well, mate, you're going to head up the highway, Gal.
Yeah, up to Newcastle tonight. So
appreciate your time, Gal.
No worries,
That'll
mate.
be good
to see you again, brother.
Thanks, you two guys.
Hey, good luck with the fight, man.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.